Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode number 212 of Rush Roundtable. Today we've got, honestly, one that I'm surprised we haven't done in 211 episodes so far. We're going to be ranking our top five Neil Peart lyrics. And this is going to be part of a two-part series. There's going to be another one next week on his top drum fills and grooves. So lyrics and drums, we're talking about Neil to honor him for, here on the anniversary of his death or around the time of that. Um, of course, today we are recording this on December 21st, which is 2112 International Rush Day, but this will go up a couple weeks from now. Let's just briefly introduce the panel before we get started. So, from the topping, no stopping.
All right, chaps, from the topping, no stopping.
Kathy Rankin in the top left-hand corner. Vivian Diaz in the middle, top middle. Rob Bukta in the top right. Paul Simon, not to be confused with Paul Simon, in the middle left. Myself, Ryan Murphy, in the middle. Nick is back. Nick Howley is back on a Rush Roundtable on the middle right, and Adam from the Rush Discuss at the bottom. So, yes, what we're going to do is, of course, this was, pretty much impossible, but we're going to give you, I guess, our top five favorite. Maybe we think they're the best. Maybe they're just our favorites. I don't know. It's up to everybody to, kind of decide what they consider top five. And we're going to go five. Each person's going to go give their five, but go 5-1 and try to rank them. So, Kathy, go ahead. You're first.
Oh, gosh. Okay. I was hoping you wouldn't say that. Okay. So you want me to give all five of them right now together? Okay. So number 5 is from Animate. And it's the line, polarize me, sensitize me, criticize me, civilize me, compensate me, animate me, complicate me, elevate me. I love that song. I love the rhythm of the words. It's just, Neil just thought of so much else besides just the meaning of his lyrics. So to me, that was a cool line. My number 4 would be Distant Early Warning. That song, I love when he says, the world weighs on my shoulders, but what am I to do? You sometimes drive me crazy, but I worry about you. I know it makes no difference to what you're going through, but I see the tip of the iceberg and I worry about you. This line got to me as a parent. Like when I first heard it, that's immediately what I thought of. And then I did some research on the song and some interviews he had done. And it was really interesting because he's so brilliant and so well read, and it went back to the story of the king and his son, and there, if you go research it, you'll know what I'm talking about. But I just thought it was a brilliant story and how he pulled that out, but made it so emotional for anybody who has had that feeling of worrying about their child or somebody they love, and you see where they're headed. You can't do anything about it. So that one just always grabs me. And then I thought it was brilliant at the end when he has the lyric, Absalom, Absalom, Absalom. So again, just his brilliance in writing. Number 3 would be from The Garden. And it's just a simple line, but it's so meaningful. Oh, it is what it is. And forever, each moment, a memory in flight. I love the whole song, obviously, but that just, again, it makes me emotional. You think about it being the last song of the very last album, and everything he was saying, it was almost foretelling of what was to come. So that one literally makes me cry every time. The next one would be kind of similar sentiment from Headlong Flight. I have stoked the fire on the big steel wheels, steer the airship right across the stars. I learned to fight, I learned to love, I learned to feel. Oh, I wish that I could live it all again. Again, when I first heard them come out with that, it just grabbed me. And again, it's Neil looking back at life. But what was interesting is I just went and watched the Jim Ladd interview, and I don't know if you guys have all seen it, the one he did in 2015. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's incredible. And I didn't realize this, but Neil specifically talked about that song and that lyric. And he said he actually would not want to live it all again. Even though he wrote that, he said he would not want to go back and live it all again. So I thought that was interesting that he wrote such a poignant line, but he didn't really mean it for himself. So something kind of interesting. My number one, and it's probably one of his most iconic lines, and it's Limelight. I can't pretend a stranger is a long-awaited friend. I love this line. To me, this gave you so much insight into who Neil was. And when I read his book, Ghostwriter, he talks about it. He talks about his discomfort with fame, his incredible shyness, how people misperceive that. And I just love that line. I relate to it because even though I'm in a business that is very extroverted, I'm actually not. I'm introverted. So I just completely related to that. And again, I just felt that it gave us so much personal insight into who he was for someone who was so private. So he was opening himself up in a way. And I just thought that was really meaningful. And to wrap it all up, I think that by saying that, what's interesting about it is even though he felt that way, he was the one who made everybody feel like they did know him and like we were all connected to him. And so when we lost him, you really felt like you did lose somebody really close to you. So
Yep.
That's it.
Good stuff. Very good explanation of all of them too. Yeah, really good stuff. And I agree about that last part. I was at work and when I heard the news, my boss was like, "Yeah, dude, just take the rest of the day off." So
Same.
it
I
felt,
saw it on
yeah.
my phone and I
Yep.
started bawling.
Yep. In fact, the first song I put on was The Garden on the way home. Get that out of the way. But
I still can't listen to that song.
Yeah, it's
I have a very hard time. I
Tough.
cry every single time, no matter what.
It's tough. Well, you're next, Viv, so take it away.
All right, number 5, chemistry. 1, 2, 3, add without subtraction, sound on sound, multiplied reaction. It's anything but about physical chemistry. It's about the emotional chemistry between the three of them. And the play on words is what gets me. I love the play on words they use. And a lot of people were saying, oh my God, they were talking about themselves. Yeah. My number 4, entre nous. We are strangers to each other, full of sliding panels and illusion show, acting well-rehearsed routines or playing from the heart. It's hard for one to know. We play these games all our lives. And Neil, when he writes to make us think that we think we know what we're doing, but we actually don't. He writes to make us realize that there's more than we think is in front of us. My number 4, where was my, oh, that was my number 4. My number 3 is mission. We each pay a fabulous price for our visions of paradise, but a spirit with a vision is a dream with a mission. I live those words. Every time things happen in life, I live that line. I can't get enough of it. I think I wore the album down on that particular song. They're very inspiring. My number 2 is Middletown Dreams. It's understood by every single person who'd be elsewhere if they could. So far, so good. And life's not unpleasant in this little neighborhood. We're all there. We all go there at all times. No matter what everybody thinks, there's always some place we'd rather be. And when your imagination takes you there, that's a good thing. That's a good place. It sometimes makes you realize that what you have in front of you isn't so bad. My number 1 is marathon. More than blind ambition, more than simple greed, more than a finish line must feed this burning need in the long run. I don't think I've ever heard a more inspirational song than Marathon. It keeps you going. there's not much to say. It's very inspirational to me, the whole thing. But I think everything Neil does is inspiring. There's always a line in, no matter how dark the song is, there's always that one line that you cling to that makes you think there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I live these songs. They're in my everyday life. And that's my top 5.
Flipping through those notes, there's probably about 25 more on there, or maybe
I got Grand
maybe
Designs.
160 more on there, or
Yeah, I got Grand Designs, Available Light, Something for Nothing, Out of the Cradle. Come on, those are
yeah.
Oh,
all.
love something for nothing.
Oh, you
Oh.
live those words too. Like, what song don't
Love
you
that
live?
one.
Yeah, what you own is your own kingdom. Who, of course. So yeah, there's everything. Every single song has something in it.
Honestly, was not expecting to hear chemistry, so I'm
That's an interesting one.
yeah,
I love
that's
Chemistry. I
a
love
good
that song
point.
because
And
it's such a play on words.
yeah,
I love it, and they're talking about themselves.
they certainly are. So far, no repeats. So what do you got, Rob?
All right, number 5 for me, Faithless. I've got my own spirit level for balance to tell if my choice is leading up or down, and all the shouting voices try to throw me off my course. Some by sermons, some by force. Fools and thieves are dangerous in the temple and marketplace. I like that whole bit right there because it's very current, very topical of what's going on outside of in the political sphere. But the thing I like about it is that you have more, I guess, autonomy. You don't need a certain organization to kind of guide you through life and have a moral, as Neil would say, a moral compass. You can get that, pretty much on your own. You don't need an external sort of thing to live your life a certain way. So I like the idea that there are distractions trying to pull you off of what you want to do and how you want to be in your life and how you want to interact with people and how you deal with problems. So I just like the powerful part of just empowerment of the song is what I appreciate about this set of lyrics. So going on to number 4, Everyday Glory. If the future's looking bright, we're the ones who have to shine. If there's no one in control, we're the ones who draw the line. Though we live in trying times, we're the ones who have to try. Though we know that time has wings, we're the ones who have to fly. And it's pretty much, it kind of dovetails off the first choice that I picked, number 5. It's up to us how we want to proceed through the future. And now we're at the end of 2023, about to move into the next year. I guess I kind of fell into this reflective mode about, how the year transpired, what happened, accomplishments, problems, how we got through those. And again, just another tune that feels very empowering, how you interact with the different things that you deal with in your day-to-day life, pretty much. So I just feel the power of that song. Time has wings. It's going by quick. Again, we're at the end of the year. So I just felt this very topical choice as well as what I like about the song. Number 3, Analog Kid. The boy lies in the grass, unmoving, staring at the sky. His mother starts to call him as a hawk goes soaring by. The boy pulls down his baseball cap and covers up his eyes. I like the imagery of that bit because when I was a kid, I had a friend named Bobby. So we were known as Bobby in our neighborhood. So our mothers would call us around 5 o'clock for dinner. And we would have to sit there because we'd be far from home. You could hear mom yelling, over the neighborhood. So it's like, is that your mom or is that my mom? And we listen again, Bobby. Like, oh, that's my mom. Okay, I got to go. So that imagery of like being with a friend or just being out in the middle of nowhere and just having your time to yourself, I felt the nostalgia of that particular line and reflecting on that, just, I didn't see a hawk go flying by, but just the idea of being in this sort of moment of solitude and being in your own element. I just appreciated that part of the tune. It just kind of brought me back to childhood. All right. Number 2, The Camera Eye. The buildings are lost in their limitless rise. My feet catch the pulse and the purposeful stride. So having come from New York and moving out to the Midwest, I miss just walking through Manhattan because when you walk through the city, there's an energy level there. It's palpable. You can just feel it. Nothing has to go on. You don't have to go anywhere or be at an event. Just walking through the city is just so invigorating, no matter what's going on. You could feel the energy of the city and the buildings and the accomplishment of architecture and all this kind of thing. And then people are moving, they got things to do, places to go, get out of the way, just all that stuff. I miss a little bit of that, of catching the pulse of everybody else's movements. So that brings back memories of, having lived in New York for 45 years and moving away. Again, a little more nostalgia for me, having come from the city, and appreciating all that energy of New York City. So that's number 2. Number 1, something for nothing. What you own, and Viv just alluded to this, what you own is your own kingdom. What you do is your own glory. What you love is your own power. What you live is your own story. In your head is the answer. Let it guide you along. Let your heart be the anchor and the beat of your own song. Again, just more inspiration moving into 2024 of just carrying through what you've accomplished in 2023 and then just moving it right on over to the next year without skipping a beat. I just like that idea. Again, more just self-empowerment. You are in control of what you want to do, your goals, your dreams, aspirations, satisfying all that stuff. Again, just very topical as we turn the page into the next year. So those are my 5.
Good one.
Good stuff. Yep. Good stuff. I love the camera eye, nostalgia. It's fantastic. I think that's super, and I echo it too. I mean that's how I
I can
feel.
relate to that. I
Yep.
was fortunate enough a few years ago to listen to the camera eye while walking through London, and then this summer I got to go to New York City for
There
the
you
first
go.
time, and I listened to the camera eye walking through New York City, so I can say I've listened to it in both towns, and it's kind of cool. So, and Neil did a really good job painting them, but
There you go. Oh, well, welcome to guest.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, surprise. Well, we'll wait a moment here. There she is.
hey,
So for the viewer, just Donna was supposed to be on this panel, and Donna's here, and we're gonna let we'll have you fill in at the end, Donna. But Donna, just to fill you in, we're halfway through, and you joined just at the right time because we're switching from Rob to Paul. So Paul, go ahead. What are your 5 in order? 5 to 1.
5 to 1 in order, and I told myself I would only swap out one of my honorable mentions if it was quoted exactly. My first repeat, Rob, Everyday Glory, the exact same lines and for the exact same reason. As long as it gets mentioned, that's the important thing, so I'm going to swap one out. My honorable mentions are going to Bravado and The Pass, but I won't go into those. We got 5, and I've got 5. Number 5, all puffed up with vanity, we see what we want to see. To the powerful and the wise, the mirror always lies. Boys and girls together mistake conceit for pride, ambition for illusion, dreams for self-delusion. Girls and boys together see what it is we lack. Boys and girls together, let's paint the mirror black. War paint was my subdivisions, and everybody on this panel actually knows what I mean when I say that sentence. I got into Rush, Presto being my first album, the great album as we're calling it. Here on
No, as you're calling it.
yeah, as I'm
Yeah.
calling it. A couple other people picked up on it though. Hoping it gets traction.
I'm fine with it. They're all great.
It's a
Continue.
great album.
It was the first song at age 17 where I went, I get it. This is me, which a lot of fans felt was Subdivisions. I just happened to hear Warpaint first. So that's my number 5. My number 4, some are born to move the world and live their fantasies, but most of us just dream about the things we'd like to be. Sadder still to watch it die than never to have known it. For you, the blind who once could see, the bell tolls for thee. First time I heard Losing It, I got goosebumps. I was not able to attend R40, but when I heard about them playing it live, I got goosebumps. When I watched it on YouTube, I got goosebumps. As I get older, this song means more and more to me with every passing day. And it helps me appreciate what I have and stay in the moment, which leads me to my number 3. Summer's going fast, nights growing colder, children growing up, old friends growing older. Freeze this moment a little bit longer, make each sensation a little bit stronger. Experience slips away, the innocence slips away. Time stands still.
Oh,
That song means more and more to me with every passing minute. So just brilliant lyrics. Number 2, Trick of Light, moving picture, moments caught in flight. Make the shadows darker, or the colors shine too bright. All the light can carry all the visions of the sea. All the light can carry all the images to me. Run to light from shadow. Sun gives me no rest. Promise offered in the east, broken in the west. Chase the sun around the world. I want to look at life in the available light, from available light. Presto. Live in the moment. Take what you have around you. Appreciate it. Speaks for itself. I'm not going to throw my spin on it. I had Everyday Glorious too. Rob, thanks for covering that perfectly. And this will come as a shock to nobody who knows me to any degree for a couple more than a couple minutes. Number 1 is the future disappears into memory with only a moment between. Forever dwells in that moment. Hope is what remains to be seen. In the fullness of time, a garden to nurture and protect. It's a measure of life. Not only is it my favorite song of Rush, it's my favorite song of all time. And I've said before, so I won't bother repeating the story here, that song means a great deal to me. Totality of the circumstances, I personally, as a preference and an opinion, think it's the most beautiful thing he ever wrote.
Paul, I think
And
you should tell the story. I think now's the time to do it if you want to give the
Sure.
Spark Notes version.
Sure.
You know?
Sure. So I didn't see Clockwork Angels. I wasn't able to, etc. I was diagnosed with a spinal disease and had a surgery, and everything's good. Had to learn how to walk again. And what I would do to get into Clockwork Angels at the time, because that was a time I wasn't listening to much music, including Rush, I decided to pick up Clockwork Angels. And I timed my walk as I learned how to walk again to, I would leave my house, at the time, my fiance's house, at the start of Caravan, and I would be walking home after going through the subdivision, and the garden would be playing, and she would be waiting for me. Fast forward to, I did lose her to a terminal illness, and at her funeral, which was held on Kauai, very close to the same beach that we were married on, we had a celebration of life, and we translated, my friend Calais and I translated the lyrics into Hawaiian. He was going to say them, and then he said, no, I think you should do the song. You should do it in Hawaiian. I'll handle the English. So it was kind of nice. And so I got to, in his words, I got to kind of commit her soul to that spot, and that sacred place of refuge. It was chosen specifically for that reason, very near to where we were married, to the lyrics of that song. And it was very special, and it was very liberating. And I knew she was looking down on us and smiling, and the only time I cracked was on the word hope. So, in fact, it will always mean a lot to me. It did the first time I heard it, but after that, it's like, yeah, I can't picture it getting any better than that. So lyrically, I'm a lyrics junkie. That's what I like most about Rush, and that is, to me, their finest. So.
Yeah. Hey man, thanks for sharing that. The perfect episode
Beautiful.
to share that on, and yeah.
amazing.
I guess I'll lighten the mood a little bit. Kathy, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and guess your cat's favorite Rush lyric. Don't like long rests. I must confess, I'm an impatient cat from best I can.
That's my other cat. They're invading my
I put mine upstairs because she likes to eat the Christmas tree that you can see back. But
my dog, unfortunately.
all right. So for me, my number 5, hit you in a soft place, a melody so sweet, a strong and simple beat that you can dance to. Superconductor. I'm totally kidding. I'm just ragging on Nick because I know how much he loves Superconductor. He's completely ignoring me. All right. So for mine, I feel like for me, a lot of my favorite Rush lyrics and specifically Neil lyrics are the simple ones, the exception of number 1. We'll get into that, but are ones that are just simple that really hit me. And number 5 is from After Image. Suddenly you were gone from all the lives you left your mark upon. The opening lines in After Image. I had a buddy that was killed in a car accident back in 2016, 2017-ish. It was very sudden. Golfing buddy that I also worked with, and my boss, just gathered the team, and that hit me, and it was like, suddenly he was gone, and he was just a great dude. So, um, yeah, that line, just from the first time I ever heard it, always stuck with me. Number 4 from one of my favorite Rush songs, "How It Is." Foot upon the stair, shoulder to the wheel. You can't tell yourself not to care. You can't tell yourself how to feel. Those last 2 lines there, I think, to me, it's just, you're gonna feel how you feel, and you can't tell yourself not to worry about it. You're gonna worry about what you worry about, right? So everyone will say, don't worry about it, whatever, but you're gonna feel how you feel. So and I think, Adam, you said something along the lines on a roundtable a long time ago, about how it is and about this particular line, and for some reason I'm spacing. Do you remember what it was?
I mean, good luck trying to remember, but I do have that same sort of connection with that lyric. It's just so perfectly encapsulates what it is.
Oh, here, you said it's okay to not be okay. That's what that was the quote. Yep. So I mean, that's just how I feel about it too. So great lyric. Number 3 from Emotion Detector. Sometimes our big splashes are just ripples in the pool. Simple, but it's so powerful because, to me, well, not me specifically, but to the individual, you can do things that are, your world, but it means absolutely nothing to somebody else, right? Or to the grand scheme of things. And I think it's perspective. It puts life into perspective, and it puts achievements and accomplishments into perspective. And just a great line. I love it. Number 2, another simple one from Open Secrets. Time will do its healing. You've got to let it go. I think it's just, I've said it to friends. I've said it to family. I've said it to, I quote that as advice all the time. Right. And just let time do its healing, and just let it go, because that's the only thing that really can help get you through things, is time. It's just let things be, right? So fantastic lyric. And I would have interchanged my number 1, but I couldn't, just because it's my number 1. It's always been my number 1, and it's from Everyday Glory. It's the last verse in Everyday Glory. Rob, you said it. If the future's looking dark, we're the ones who have to shine. If there's no one in control, we're the ones who draw the line. Though we live in trying times, we're the ones who have to try. Though we know that time has wings, we're the ones who have to fly. I mean, this is just genius. This is the only non-simple one, right? From my list, but this is just Neil at his best. And I think our pals Jerry and Steve, I think it was Jerry said on his podcast, maybe it was Steve, I don't know. They always felt that this line kind of just didn't fit in this song, just because it's so powerful, but it stands the test of time, and it definitely stands up against all the great Neil lyrics. I think a very underrated tune, very underrated lyric, but I think it's definitely one of Neil's best. So definitely my favorite. So I'm going to turn it over to Nick. What do you got?
Okay, well, Motion Detector is my favorite Rush song right now, so I appreciate all that. So mine are, these aren't my favorite songs or even my full favorite lyrics. I was very specific to what you said, Ryan, which was the task was saying my favorite stanza or favorite line. So I did pick out 3 funny honorable mentions real quick. I'll go through that I think people will get a kick out of. The first one is it's from Witch Hunt, and it's "We've got to protect our children," which is one of the things that Neil is yelling during the beginning. Another thing that I had to put in there was "Prize Every Time." It's not a lyric, but I thought it was, so I'm putting it in as an honorable mention because I remembered it from Snakes and Arrows, and then I remembered Snakes and Arrows was the first new album I could buy by Rush back in 2007 when I was in high school, so that was cool. And then the last one is, and this might be false. I'm pretty sure Neil would have inserted this, or maybe it was a group effort. But I love From Malignant Narcissism, usually a case of malignant narcissism brought on during childhood. I love Team America, and that's also a fantastic song. But so that just every time I hear that, it cracks me up, and then I have to immediately go into the Team America song. Needless to say, that song is played on 4th of July every year. Okay, so so the 5 actual though here. Number 5 from Circumstances, Plus ça change, plus ça la même chose. I can't speak French. I apologize. But the more that things change, the more they stay the same. I don't know if I always agree with that line, but I love that it's both in French and English. It's very it reminds me of every time I go to Canada, I see both French and English on everything. So I just think it's cool. That's why I picked it. Number 4, the body electric, 1001001 SOS, 1001001 in distress, 100100. I'm a big sci-fi guy. I love Star Trek. I love Star Wars. I'm happy to see that Baby Yoda is a big Rush fan sitting behind Donna. So I just think it's cool that they inserted this. I don't remember exactly what Neil was influenced by during this song, but I don't know. I also got to see it live, which was super cool. So I really like the chorus from that. Number 3, this is from Soliloquy, 2112. I'm going to say exactly what I have typed down. I don't think I can carry on this cold and empty life. Asterisk, epic guitar solo. My spirits are low in the depths of despair. My lifeblood spills over. I mean, this dude like can't deal with the fact that they destroyed his guitar and he can't play music, so he just kills himself. And I'm like, that's so metal. Like, that's awesome. Like, I just love that. Like, the revolution is going to begin now because this martyr. And that I just think the way that just the way you don't expect that, to be honest, and from a non like this, Rush isn't a black metal band, black metal, doom metal, death metal, they're not that, but yet here we are. Number 2 is from Anthem. Live for yourself. There's no one else more worth living for. Begging hands and bleeding hearts will only cry for more. Some people take that very literal and think it's like super selfish. The song is a bit selfish in many ways, but a positive selfish, meaning you need to take care of yourself. You need to worry about yourself and the people in your lives. I take that to meaning all the time. And I take that to heart quite often, especially as somebody who is too much of a people pleaser. A verse like this really hits home for me because I tend to say yes to a lot of things when I should say no, because I don't like upsetting people. So, and then number 1 is from The Spirit of Radio. One likes to believe in the freedom of music, but glittering prizes, endless compromises shatter the illusion of integrity. I know Spirit is like a hit, and that may sound kind of like a cop-out, like a casual fan would say, but honestly, it's my favorite thing that Neil ever wrote. Twofold on that. One, I love the ability, like, I know not everyone's a big fan of Spotify, but I love the ability to have all this different music from different genres. Like, I saw John Williams last week, and before that I saw a rap show. And like, I just love like the freedom of music. But then I listen to like modern music and I can't stand most of modern music. And I am 34 now, so maybe I am starting to get close to that age where I'm, angry at like all the new stuff. But like, I can't stand most of modern music. I was telling everyone before the show, I went to a rap show a couple months ago, and the main guy was good. It was a guy like, I hated every single rapper that was on before that. I was miserable the whole time. I thought, this is music now. This is it. This is what we're dealing with this is where we're going. And I've come to realize that looking back at the last few concerts I've been to, they've all been bands from like the 70s and early 80s. Other than the one random rap show. Even John Williams, got famous in the late 60s, early 70s. So, so it just really strikes a chord when it comes to music. And I think it also very much defines Rush throughout the years. So that is my as my stuff.
Yep. Good stuff, man.
Good choices.
All right, Adam, what do you got?
Well, before I dive into it, to Nick, the Body Electric, the name and the general premise was taken from another Twilight Zone episode. So
That's right.
There's
Yep.
the connection there.
Okay. I could not remember what it was, and shame on me for not doing my homework before coming on, but I didn't so I didn't look it up. So thanks. Yeah, it's a banger.
Oh,
It's a
yeah, I love
banger.
that one.
My son's favorite Rush song.
Awesome live.
So yeah, it's so hard to decide on favorite lyrics for me because lyrics are just as important to me as the music, and so I had to kind of pick a through line for me and what things I identify with right now in my life. Yeah, so my number 5 is Beneath, Between, and Behind. The final bit, the guns replace the plow, facades are tarnished now, the principles have been betrayed, the dream's gone stale, but still let hope prevail, hope that history's debt won't be repaid. And
Stuff, the ultimate tongue twister song. I still have to even read. Yeah.
yeah, like credit due to Getty for singing that. But I just love, and this is what I love about Neil's writing. He always, as has been mentioned before, doesn't matter how dark it gets, he always has hope. And he's always encouraging the listener to always cling to whatever hope you have. Don't let the world around you drag you down. Because like with this song, the whole point being like there was this nation of promise that was supposed to do everything differently, and now look at where we are. The leaders are no different than the leaders that they were trying to get away from. And so, but we can still hope that we can build a better future moving on. So I just love that. Number 4 is Between the Wheels. Wheels can take you around, wheels can cut you down, fall from rocket's red glare, down to brother, can you spare another war, another wasteland, another lost generation. These lyrics will always be very relevant to me. I'm just extremely peace-loving, wish that there could be no war ever. And that line is always, I think, just so pointed and so poignant as well. And then my number 3 is from Far Cry, just the opening stanza. Pariah dogs and wandering madmen, barking at strangers and speaking in tongues. The ebb and flow of tidal fortune, electrical changes are charging up the young. For me, even less than the message of it, what hits me about this is how well crafted it is, how fun it is to say, and it just hits you like start of the album, especially because at this point when this album came out, I had just really started getting into Rush and was super excited that this was coming out and that getting new Rush, and then just getting smacked in the face with this these lyrics, and it is just always fires me up. So my number 2 lyric is from Natural Science. The most endangered species, the honest man, will still survive annihilation, forming a world, a state of integrity, sensitive, open, and strong. And I think that kind of is Neil's message in a nutshell with all the stuff that he is writing, that the hope is that they're still honest among us and that the honest will find each other. Because, and I love that wordplay, forming a world, a state of integrity, kind of putting it on his head that the state doesn't need to be dictating what we're doing. We can dictate what the state is, and that state is integrity. Just love that idea. And I was thinking about maybe subbing this out, or at least going down to my, like shifting my list down, because Viv had already shared this, but I just can't not say it again. But we each pay a fabulous price for our visions of paradise, but a spirit with a vision is a dream with a mission. And at the end of the day, we all make our choices, and wherever we really truly want to be is going to take sacrifice. And where we're headed, are we really willing to not count the price that it takes? But whatever it is a fabulous price to get to that paradise. And I just love those messages of hope, even with all the darkness around, that it really is up to us and our perspective to shape our world. And I love that.
Good stuff, as always. All right, Donna, what do you got?
So first of all, forgive me for freaking people out. I'm so accustomed to doing these. We tape these, as I'm sure you've figured out for those that are watching. I'm so used to the fact that we tape them later that I was like, oh yeah, I got plenty of time. And so it's the end of the semester, and I'm like, talking to a couple of students, and I'm like, oh, got plenty of time. And then all of a sudden I'm getting these messages from Ryan. It's like, the show's almost over. I'm like,
I didn't say that. So your first lyric is too many hands on my time, too many.
Yeah, exactly.
Feelings, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yes, exactly. But that's from a different thing.
Yeah.
So, let me do a couple that have sort of been done, but with my own spin on them, and a couple that haven't, also with my own spin on them. I'm going to start with, you can choose a ready guide in some celestial voice. If you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice. I quote that all the time. And a lot of people misinterpret the song. A lot of people like, aha, atheism. Maybe, if that's the choice you make, terrific. Neil didn't care. He just wanted you to make a choice. There are so many people out there, and we're going to see this in my second lyric, which is related. No, his mind is not for rent to any god or government. Again, not about atheism, about renting out your mind. Oh, I'll let my political party make the choice. I'll let my clergy person make the choice. I'll let my favorite philosopher make the choice. If you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice. Either you're up in the stands, being a spectator, writing angry posts on social media, or you're down on the field trying to make it better. Which is it? And I really do believe that that's where Neil was going. And I talked to him about it because I was getting my PhD. And Neil was famously like, oh my God, PhD piled higher and deeper, But we were talking about the study of philosophy. And he was like, yeah, if you can study, if you can think about, if you choose not to decide, if your university is just one more thing that you let make your decisions for you, then no, he's not for it. But if it's a place where you can start seeing different sides of issues, yeah, that. So those two lyrics have always seemed to me to be interconnected and a through line in a lot of the songs by Rush. Think for yourself, okay? Now, I'm going to go with two things from Limelight that everybody, oh my God, Donna's doing the hits. But so what? If it can reach the masses with a message, come on, I was a DJ, okay? Cast in this unlikely role, ill-equipped to act, with insufficient tact, one must put up barriers to keep oneself intact. When you're a celebrity, a lot of fans think they own ya. And I'm not dissing the fans. There are some wonderful fans, but I have been at concerts where people were literally furious that the guys didn't stand for 5 hours and sign autographs. It's like, folks, they were just up on stage for 3 hours playing their hearts out. I'm sorry you didn't get your autograph, but now you're going to be mad at them? Really? You know, or I'm seeing people going online. It's like, how come Rush haven't reunited? Why can't Geddy get another drummer? Because he said he wouldn't. And I take him at his word. Will he and Alex collaborate on something? Sure. And if that is a problem for the people that want him to reunite and form a new band now, gee, I'm sorry. But when you're in that band, you love the fans, you care about the fans, you want to reach out to the fans, but you also have a life. You have a family, you have friends, you need time away. You've got to find ways to keep yourself intact. People negotiated that differently. Alex and Geddy, they loved schmoozing with people. Neil, he just needed to be by himself. And that was a problem for some people. Oh, he's aloof. He's standoffish. No, he was none of those things. He was just trying to keep his head in a good space so that he could give what the fans demanded and what he demanded of himself. Am I making any sense? This is a topic that really is emotional for me because I saw people be critical of him because he didn't come to the meet and greets. So what? Look at the great music he left us with. I say that kindly, okay? Living in a fisheye lens, caught in the camera eye, I have no heart to lie. I can't pretend a stranger is a long-awaited friend. He just couldn't do it. He couldn't do it. I respected him for being honest about it. He spoke through his music, and that's perfectly good enough for me. A couple more lines and then I'll move it along. The part about all the world's indeed a stage and we are merely players, performers and portrayers, each another's audience outside the gilded cage. He quoted from Shakespeare all the time. That line about performers and portrayers, that comes from As You Like It. He also later on quotes from Macbeth about the world and being a stage and all. Sometimes that's how he felt. And sometimes don't we all feel like we're performing? I'm performing right now. The conversation in my head is, people don't like me. People don't like me at all. They're tired of hearing from me. They wish I would just shut up and go away. But then here I am. I've got the privilege to be on this webcast talking about the band that I love with friends, but that doesn't stop the conversation. So I've got to get out there and I've got to do what I said I would do. I'm not comparing myself to Neil. I'm just saying, I understand that emotion. I understand feeling like you're a fraud, feeling like nobody cares what you have to say. There were times when he'd get off stage and he was his own worst critic. And he'd be like, but I missed this particular, nobody noticed it. But he did. And he was a perfectionist. And there it is. He felt like a performer or a portrayer sometimes on that stage, in that gilded cage with everyone's expectations. Couple more lines and then I'll be done. The part in the song that was already quoted, Spirit of Radio. Come on, I'm a DJ. You know I was going to quote that. The part about begin the day with a friendly voice, a companion unobtrusive. When I was on stage with Geddy a couple of weeks ago in Cleveland, he thanked me for getting his career started. He said, Donna, I wouldn't have a career if it weren't for you. It's on tape. He really did say that. And I just looked at him like, Geddy, if you weren't talented, it wouldn't have mattered what I did. Okay? I played 1,000,000 records by 1,000,000 bands. Nobody cared. Not because it was me, Donna, but because there's millions of records that come out. They're not all great. You guys, you had it from day one and everybody knew it. They were wanting you to continue on. I gave you a start. I'm glad that I did. But you had the talent to take it from there, okay? But I was in an era where I could be that friendly voice. I was in an era where I could be that companion. Now, so many radio stations, the DJ has no say in anything. Everything is automated. Everything is AI. Everything, that friendly voice is from some other city, but not in your hometown. And I miss those days. No, the good old days weren't good old days. There's no such thing. But there was a time when the DJ mattered. And that's what they were watching pass away. And they felt really bad about it. I couldn't discover Rush today. I couldn't do the stuff that I did back then. And I think that's kind of a shame. So, a couple more things here. The part about invisible airwaves crackle with life, bright antenna bristle with the energy, emotional feedback on a timeless wavelength, bearing a gift beyond price, almost free. What's almost free? The music, the artist, the friendship. It seems like there's that freedom in the music, but then you get to the glittering prizes and the endless compromises. Rush never compromised. They stood for what they believed. Let me close with this. My final one, it's got to be this. The treasure of a life is a measure of love and respect. The way you live, the gifts you give, in the fullness of time is the only return that you expect. I hear that like mitzvah. Mitzvah is a concept in Judaism, and you don't have to be Jewish to do a mitzvah. It's badly translated as a good deed, but it's really a positive action that makes the world better in some way. And you don't do a mitzvah for the result. You do it because it's the right thing to do. And in the fullness of time, the gifts that you give come back in some way in a measure of love and respect. I say to you, Neil gave that gift, and what he got back was the love and the respect of the fans, and that will never, ever change.
Very well said. Very well said.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. I think well, I always have the pleasure and the difficulty of trying to wrap these up after Donna speaks. So, and it's not easy. So,
Perhaps I shouldn't have come on.
no, I'm happy you did, and thank you for hopping on.
I'm
I
sorry
think
if I talk too much. You know me.
Oh my gosh,
no,
I love how you
Absolutely.
articulate
No.
things.
yeah, 100%. I think just the diversity of choices just go to show how great of a lyricist Neil was, and you know how great of a choice it was for Alex and Getty to say, "Oh, this guy reads, maybe he can write lyrics." So I think, yeah, what we're
Just
gonna
think
do
about
is,
one thing.
yeah,
Something for Nothing came out in 1976. It's 2023 and we're still talking about it.
yeah,
That
yep.
in itself
They're
says a
timeless,
lot.
timeless.
His lyrics are transparent. They go from decade to decade, from situation to situation. No matter
Yep.
what, they carry with us because they apply to everything, whether it's 50 years ago or tomorrow. His lyrics are always going to be right there in your making you think, no matter what year it came out.
But
So that's
But-
the genius. But
we wouldn't know the lyrics if the music didn't kick ass behind it. Remember that.
of course, no, chemistry. No flow without the other. There you go.
But that's what I
Yes.
said about Working Man. And I understand Neil didn't write it, but he ultimately embraced it.
Yeah, it became his
He
song.
knew the
Yes,
fans loved it.
100%.
It was a
It
great
became his song.
It resonated with
Yep.
people.
Yep.
And it was the transition to the next level, which is what
Yes.
Neil was brought in to do.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, in a way, that song paves the way for everything we're talking about tonight.
Yes.
Yep.
Mhm.
What's cool
Yep.
about this episode for me is it's so different to hear the lyrics when other people are actually reading them versus when you're just listening to the songs. It's actually really cool. They take on a whole different context
Yep.
when you hear somebody reading them out loud. And I love that. I love hearing everybody's different reading of their lyrics that grab them.
No, that's a good point. That's a really good point. Yeah. And how everybody can take lyrics and interpret them their own way and apply them to their own situations too, you know? So,
And he encouraged that.
Mhm.
he did, yeah.
And that's
Mhm.
why I always thought about it as poetry. Okay. It is no
Exactly.
accident
No.
that Neil quoted from Shakespeare, from
It's the
Plato,
thinking
from
man's poetry.
Aristotle, from whoever, because he loved to read, he loved to think, he was, just interested in so many different things, and he wanted us to also be interested
Think
in
for
so many
ourselves.
different things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And that's what good poetry is, just like good art. There's no one of it. His mind is not for rent to, don't let the art critics tell you what that painting means. Give them, they can give you some advice, they can give you some suggestions, but in the end, it's how it resonates with you.
Life in two dimensions is a mass production scheme.
Indeed.
I
Indeed.
love that line. That gets me. Because it's the truth.
Viv is still flipping through her 20 pages of notes and just just reading off
Can't
lyrics.
help it. Why you
One in
can't
there.
pay?
Yep.
Come on.
There's sneaking extra ones in there.
Yeah, Nick snuck 3 in too himself. So
Yeah, he did. If
Yeah.
I knew people were gonna do that, I would have snuck some extras in.
To be fair, though, they were the goofy ones, right? There's a
We
lot
need
of
a part two. We need a
there's a-
part two.
there's a lot of goofy stuff that Neil and the gang like to do too. I mean, I was trying to think of other stuff that Neil yelled on and stuff, and then I remembered on the Necromancer, he's the guy in the back yelling "Return."
Yeah.
So I love that side of them.
Well, even with Baitor is a pun. I mean, they loved, a lot of people think of Neil as very ponderous and very serious. And he had a great sense of humor. A lot of people think of Alex as the guy with the sense of humor because of the blah, blah, blah speech. They all had really good senses of humor. That's what Getty said a couple of weeks ago. He said, the reason we were able to stay together as long as we did is because we could always make each other laugh.
Yep. And this is
all
why we're
truth. The last thing I want to throw on was the fact that I love the fact that I came into the Presto era I mentioned earlier, Donna, before you came on, that I love that era, but specifically the fact that Neil was studying prose writing because it fascinated him and it interested him. And if you look at the lyrics, for example, only in that era, in Hold Your Fire, Presto, Roll the Bones, there is such smart wordplay there, from anagram to dog ears. It's clever, it's witty, it's smart. He was constantly playing with words. What can I do with them?
And you know what else is cool? And then I know Ryan is sitting there going like TikTok. But the reality is that Neil understood that how you interpret lyrics when you're, let's say, 20 may not be how you interpret them when you're, let's say, 40 or 60 or whenever. I mean, when he and I were hanging that night at the Boston Garden, which is today just the TD Garden or whatever they call it, when we were hanging backstage, he said to me, the way I interpret King Lear now versus the way I experienced it when I borrowed your Shakespeare book and never returned it. I said it was a paperback, enjoy yourself. But no, he said, seriously, how I was when I was like 21 reading that play versus how I am now that I'm in my 40s, completely different interpretation. I said, yeah, that's what good poetry will do. I read stuff now that it's like, I got it intellectually because my professor said so when it was going to be on page 43, you know, but living it, very, very different. So that's one of the great things about Rush lyrics, how you interpret them when you're young and, you know, rock a free bird, you know, it's very different from years later. Maybe you're married. Maybe you got a family. Maybe you've lost someone. Maybe you've been in love and it just didn't work out. All of these things contribute to, so that's what he meant. Or, okay, yeah, that's another.
But they apply to each situation. The same line applies to each
We could
situation
revisit.
in a
Yeah,
different.
Viv, you're absolutely right. We could revisit some of the early shows that we all did on the round table or on the other multitude of Rush webcasts. Of course, Ryan's are the best and everyone knows it. But seriously, we could revisit all of those things, even from 5 years ago,
Mhm.
10 years ago. And it's
Mhm.
like, I've got this whole new understanding of what that line means. It's a fact.
Now I've gained some understanding of the only world that we see.
Well, now she's on page 21 up there of her notes.
Hope is what,
You
hope
better
is
stop
what
me now.
remains to be seen.
I think, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like we probably missed a whole bunch more. So,
Yeah.
You know we did.
yeah, I'd love to hear. I'm sure all 8 of us have, a whole bunch more honorable mentions. Maybe throw those in the comments.
And
Viewers,
people that are
throw yours in
watching,
the
if you're
comments
sitting
too.
there yelling at your
Exactly.
screen going, how
Yeah.
come somebody didn't mention? Just throw it in the comments. We read every comment. That is a fact. Okay. And maybe you'll give us an idea for another show.
100%. I'm sure there's probably some obvious ones we missed. I mean, first comes to mind is probably the pass, right?
RYZ.
Oh yeah,
There's
that
so
one for
many. We
sure.
could have
Yeah,
had like
yeah.
a 6-hour show for heaven's sake.
We could have.
You know what? High Water is a beautiful, beautiful, underrated song.
Yeah.
Got deep meaning to it. But
Yeah.
everybody goes over it because it's after Taishan. Nobody
it's
pays
after
attention
Taishan.
to it.
Look at all the people that completely overlook Madrigal, which I think is just a
That was my
beautiful
post
song.
for tonight on
Oh
Twitter.
my God, I
Madrigal.
love that song.
Yep.
I love that.
It's a gorgeous song.
Yep. That's what that man Neil, that's what he did,
Yeah.
It's amazing
And hats
stuff.
off to Getty and Alex for making it all into a cohesive unit where there was no ego. It was just, it's all about the music.
Yep. All right. Next week, like I mentioned at the top 5 Neil drum fills and drum grooves. So it'll be a completely different cast of characters for that. A lot of drummers, of course. But let us know in the comments what we missed. Always turn up the music and smile. Be sure you're always endlessly rocking, and we'll see you on the next episode of Rush Roundtable. Take care, everybody.
Good night, everybody.